Susanna Buhasin, to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, adoption of the agenda. Any amendments or motions?
President Couture, I have one, please. I would like to pull item 6E out of consent and move it to action items for discussion and possible approval.
We have one amendment. Any others? Any motions?
Motion to approve as amended.
Motion, any seconds?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you.
Okay. That brings us to the call to the public. I'm not seeing any speaker cards, so we can move on. Superintendent's report, Dr. Chestnut.
Thank you, President Coutre, members of the governing board. Is my mic working okay out there? You can hear me? Good. Several things to report on. Really, to start with that picture, our state championship team is headed to Washington, D.C. this coming weekend. So we're looking forward to report back on how they did. So our Future Cities team, are very proud of them from Maricopa Wells, and they will all be back, this team and all of the teams from both Maricopa Wells and Desert Wind at our next governing board meeting. So we'll give some special recognition to them at that time. And next up is our student representative report from Samantha Dugan.
Thank you very much. I'd first like to apologize for my uniform. I normally wear a dress, but didn't have time. So upcoming at the high school this Saturday, February 14th, our girls basketball team is in the playoffs. And they are playing Seton Catholic at Coronado at 5:30 p.m. We ask the community to come out and support them. Also, next Thursday, February 19th, we have the registration rally for the 8th graders to come and sign up for Maricopa High School. I'm not really sure what time right now. It's either 5 to 8 or 6 to 9. Thank you very much.
Samantha mentioned this, but this is a big deal. Our girls basketball team is now ranked number 10 in Division II in the state of Arizona. Their record is 22-4. They won a game by 1 point, I believe, last night. And they're in the sectional tournament now. And if they win on Saturday, then I believe they're in very good shape to enter the state tournament. And the first round would actually be, could possibly be at Maricopa High School. So we'll keep you informed on that, but very exciting to see the girls do so well in basketball this year. Next up, we do have some special recognition. Butterfield is with us tonight, and I know that Principal Janelle Hildick and her staff are actually going to present these certificates, and I have the information about the people we want to recognize. And tonight we want to recognize Darla Ryder, Lucy Lopez, and Martha Rowe as the support staff members of the year from Butterfield Elementary. And just to tell you a little bit about them, they are our kitchen staff. They work very hard, and they do an excellent job. Food is always ready for the students on time, breakfast and lunch, and the line has never moved faster. And if you have a large elementary school, that is a very big deal for the line to move fast. The staff, these three women are very friendly and enjoy their jobs greatly, but best of all, the food quality and selection is better than it has ever been at Butterfield Elementary. The fruit and salad bar is a popular choice with the students, and you often see them piling their trays with healthier options, so it's nice to know that that emphasis is paying off with our students. But the ultimate compliment for these three women is that the food looks great and tastes great, and the best proof of that is that Mrs. McMullen, who is known as Butterfield's pickiest eater, she has ordered lunch several times this year for the first time ever. So the Butterfield staff is very pleased with the performance of these three women, and I think Janelle and the staff want to present those certificates to them right now. Yes, they have to come up, you have to present them up front so we can get a good picture. Ladies, can you... And some more recognition from Butterfield. We'd also like to recognize Kathleen Kelly, who was named the 2015 Maricopa VFW Citizenship Education Teacher, who won the VFW Citizenship Education Teacher Award from Butterfield Elementary. Congratulations, Kathleen. And finally, we did announce this, I believe, at our previous meeting, but this is a big deal, and we're very proud of Susanna. So, Susanna Busan was named the 2015 Chamber Educator of the Year from Butterfield Elementary. So, congratulations to Susanna. We're going to hear some more great things from Butterfield later in the program. So congratulations to those staff members. A couple other things to report on. Actually, I don't have other things to report on. This will come later. Thank you.
All right, governing board member reports. I have something. Anybody else want to go first? No? Okay. All right, at our last meeting, I reported I was on my way to DC. Well, it went very well. It was freezing cold. At least there was no snow. But I did have the opportunity to speak not only on behalf of MUSD, but on behalf of Arizona Public School. And so I was able to speak to Ann Kirkpatrick, who, in case you didn't know, used to be a public school education teacher. She was extremely receptive to the message, although, you know, this is a time when everybody's there campaigning and lobbying for their passions. That's how an easier way to put it. Gosar, we spoke with him. We also spoke with McSally. What we went to speak about was the reauthorization of the Elementary and Secondary Education Act, and that entails the No Child Left Behind, to put it a little bit simpler, but not just the reauthorization, but also the modernization of No Child Left Behind, because there's many, many aspects of that which is outdated and no longer applies to how we teach school today. So part of that is also modernizing IDEA and fully funding how they fund IDEA, which, as many of you may not know, which is special education. It's supposed to be funded on the federal level at 40%. Currently, it's only funded at 13%. So it was really eye-opening to be able to speak to other states, because this is a national school board association conference. And so there were school boards from all across the state, and it was eye-opening, although we always know that its funding is cut at the public school level. But to hear the stories, passionate stories from board members of how it has affected their specific schools. So we took those stories to the Hill. And knowing and being able to share with Congressman McSally that our own school district, because we're only funded at 13%, and I know that we have other funding from Medicaid that helps bump that up a little bit to 17%, woohoo, when it's supposed to be 40%, that we have to take that money out of our general ed fund, which then still comes out of our classroom fund. And she didn't know that. So what we were asking for is for the federal government to fully fund the mandate as it was intended to be funded. Part of that is also Title I, which we also were asking to fully fund, and to fully fund any other federal mandates as they were intended to be funded. and if they weren't going to fund them, then to find some way to not make us have to fulfill them. So it was good conversations. It's a long-term battle. It's not going to be solved in one conversation. We did invite them to come and visit our school. GOSAR's camp was very open to that, so we'll see if that happens. We will continue to knock on that door. Kirkpatrick's camp was also very open to that possibility, so I will continue to work on that. It was a great honor to be able to represent MUSD and tell our story. So there will be more on that. If you have questions, you know how to reach me. My email is up there, but it was great. Thank you for allowing me to go. And just so you know, MUSD did not pay for it. Just want to get that out there. Because I serve on the Arizona School Board Association board, Arizona School Board paid for the trip. So it's a good opportunity for MUSD to be represented, but also Arizona to be represented, and we're able to bring back the information to MUSD on somebody else's dime. So I'm working for you, so thank you for giving me the opportunity to do that. So it was great, and I did bring a bunch of takeaways. So do we have these in the lobby? Okay, so this is a little booklet that National School Board Association has published on the Common Core, or as we call it in Arizona, College and Career Ready Standards. And GOSAR's camp was really interested in our take on that, and they had some good questions and some good interesting takes of their own. So pick that up. They've got some great articles and things that we can do. And then if you want some other information on what we talked about with our congressman when we went to the Hill, I've got some little cheat sheets and things. If you'd like copies of those, let me know. We can make copies and get those to you. But it was very interesting, and I thoroughly enjoyed the experience. And our next stop will be, our next road trip will be in Nashville to tell our message there. So I just look forward to it. So thank you.
Thank you. Any others?
I would just like to share with the public this weekend, Saturday, there will be some kids that go to the district that wrestle with the Maricopa Youth Wrestling Club. And this Saturday in Casa Grande is the state tournament. So let's also give them some good luck wishes for them as well. Thank you.
Ago, and it was a wonderful training. I attended it 4 years ago, and it's amazing the things that I'm reminded of that you kind of lose sight of. So it was a good conference. It was a good training, and there was a section on board presidents. So hopefully that'll help me be a good leader up here for you guys. On the meeting on March 18th, I have requested that part of our work study, we'll be going over our board evaluation tool, our board goals, reviewing the strategic plan. So kind of keep that in the back of your mind for the next month. I really want to make sure that our board goals are stuff that are things that we can do, but they are supportive of our strategic plan. And lastly, I just wanted to give a thank you to Lisa. The board members are now receiving on a weekly basis a spreadsheet of all the activities that are happening at all of our district schools. And hopefully this will enable us to attend more of these activities, events. I know that it's really hard, with work and family, and to be able to get to go to these things. But the more we can be out there with supporting our students and our teachers and our parents, it's a good idea. So please, if you guys can, try to make it out there. But thank you, Lisa. I didn't mean to create more work, and I really do appreciate it. All right. Information items, work study. Dr. Chestnut?
Report from each school. So at this time, it's my pleasure to introduce Principal Janelle Hildick from Butterfield Elementary.
Governing members of the board and Dr. Chestnut. I'm Janelle Hildick, proud principal of Butterfield Elementary School. At this time, I would like to acknowledge our fabulous staff that is here in the audience and student, I see a student out there, for attending tonight. So I'm happy that you were here to come support us for our presentation tonight. Also, would like to introduce 3 staff members that will be presenting tonight. Mr. Steve Sorensen, PE coach, Ms. Stephanie Solomon, our 6th grade, one of our 4 6th grade teachers, and Ms. Brittany Huffman, one of our 4 4th grade teachers. So I want to publicly thank them for presenting, volunteering to present tonight. So we are here to explain and show our progress towards becoming an A school. So we'll start with Mr. Sorensen.
Thank you. At Butterfield, our goal is to become the next A school. We've shown progress year after year and are now 5 points away from becoming an A school. We have a total of 34 certified teachers, with 61% of those teachers with at least 1 master's degree. We have 775 students total with a diverse population. On this slide is the exact breakdown of our varied ethnicities. We practice our school vision every day at Butterfield, a community dedicated to inspiring lifelong learners with positive character traits.
This slide shows our progress towards our Math SMART goal, which is 100% of Butterfield students in grades K-6 will meet expected growth in math, as measured by the Galileo pretest to post-test in May 2015. So the information on the graph is the percentage of students who met their expected growth from pretest to benchmark 2 tests. Since our goal is for all students to meet our expected growth, we provide strategies across the school in each classroom to grow each and every student. The strategies we use each day are listed here. K-3 need-based small group instruction, weekly Galileo formatives, 10 marks program, the Club Buzz 21st Century program, Galileo test talks, daily and weekly fluency timed tests in math, and weekly MobiMax computer lab time.
On this slide, we see our ELA SMART goal for Butterfield, which is 100% of the students at Butterfield in grades K through 6 will meet the expected growth in reading as measured from our Galileo pretest to our post-test in May 2015. Like our math graph, we have the percentages of students who have already met their expected growth from their pretest to the benchmark 2 test. Some of the strategies that we're using in the classrooms to help us meet the ELA SMART goal is we use leveled intervention groups, along with Read Naturally in some of our grades, along with literature circles. We've also been using the program Reading A to Z and Raz Kids, along with our Club Buzz 21st Century program.
Thank you, guys. Any questions about the presentation?
No questions, just a comment.
Sure.
Congratulations on just 5 points
I
away
know.
from an A.
Thank
Does that
you.
just make you want to just do the giddy dance?
Yes.
Yeah.
I just want to get there. That's
Yeah.
what it is. So,
That's exciting.
yeah.
Principal, I have a question for you.
Sure.
If I'm understanding this correctly, and actually let me reframe my question. So I always like asking a magical wand question. I don't want to throw you under the bus or anything like that.
Sure.
But if you had a magic wand, what would you do different, or what would you like to see different, especially with like the 3rd grade math scores and the reading scores? What's the difference between where we are now to where we are for an A rated school?
Well, with the tests that we just saw with Benchmark 2, we had a lot of issues testing with technology. So pretty much all of our, not to make excuses, but we did have to reschedule our classes when we met as a staff. The teachers pretty much shared all their trauma that they had testing. So if I had a magic wand, all of our technology would work perfectly and we wouldn't have any issues with the testing. So, and I think that really had the major difference on the test scores based on the feedback from the teachers. When I walk through the classrooms and do my walkthroughs and observations, they're doing everything they're supposed to be to become an A school. So I give them the feedback. The teachers are doing a great job. They turn their lesson plans in weekly, so everything's in place. It's just those test scores weren't so reflective, but we're almost there. So I know we can do it. You're welcome. Anything else? All right. Well, thank you. You're welcome. Thank you.
Okay, certified salary schedule revision. Dr. Chestnut.
As you know, there were a couple of handouts in the board packet, and I just want to review some of that information. There was one sheet in there entitled Informational Memorandum, just kind of describing the implementation of a revised certified salary schedule that I would like the board to consider. And it's not an action item tonight, we're just having a discussion, so anxious to get your feedback on this. Myself, Mr. Roush, Mr. Beckett spent a lot of time on this proposal and to put this information together for your information. If you looked at that memo, you could see that it stated that should the board adopt this revised salary schedule, it would be used exclusively for newly hired certified staff members that are coming into the district. Their salary would be determined based on that new salary schedule. Also, second point is that current certified staff members' salaries will not be impacted. In other words, every certified staff member that currently works for us will be grandfathered or grandmothered into their salary for next year. It would be the same. No change. And third thing, current staff members also would be reimbursed for any coursework taken this year or prior to next year. And that is one slight difference. The way our current salary schedule reads, it's in increments of 15 credits. So you don't get the next salary bump until you earn 15 credits, and then you move to the next cell on the salary schedule. With this new proposal, there would be a payment of $65 per credit as they were earned each year. So you wouldn't have to accumulate 15 before you got a salary improvement on that. Number 4, the salary schedule is cost neutral. It is not designed to save money. It is designed to have a different mechanism for awarding new staff salaries and for awarding a cost of living adjustment in future years for all staff. But it is not designed to save money. It is just cost neutral. Number 5, at our next meeting, of course, depending on how this discussion goes, if there's a favorable response from the board tonight, I plan to bring back a similar salary schedule for all administrators. Best description of this is a stepless salary schedule, and I would bring back a stepless salary schedule for administrators as well. So all certified staff, in other words, my proposal is that all certified staff move to a new salary schedule for next school year. This is what I'd like the board to consider. Met with a small administrative committee today to review this, and we'll continue to work on that in future weeks. Number 6, each year the governing board would have to make a COLA decision, a cost of living adjustment decision, as part of the budget process. Another possibility would be possible additional funds for a longevity bonus. That's another item to consider. But what I just described is basically the way we've been doing it around here for the last several years. We have not been able to fully fund our salary schedule, and there was in fact a 4-year period when it was completely frozen. There was no cost of living adjustment, there was no additional salary for experience, and it was because of state funding cuts. The last 2 years we've been more fortunate, largely because of funding from district-sponsored charter schools, which has gone away. So the last 2 years, we've been able to, over the last 2 years, average funding the step on the salary schedule for certified staff. So, in other words, we call it a salary step, but another way to describe that would be a cost of living adjustment. But my point is that each year, as we go through this budget process, we would have to consider that, which is what we do anyway. Each year, we consider, as part of the deliberation on determining our budget, how much funding we can apply for additional improvement on the salary schedule. That would continue. Number 7, the salary committee met. Mr. Beckett led that committee, and he gave us a nice report at our last meeting on this. And the salary committee reviewed stepless salary schedules, which have become quite common in Arizona. And if you recall, maybe just to summarize his report, the salary committee basically would prefer the continuation of the current salary schedule. But there was also a lot of other comments in that report. That wasn't their only comment. One of the comments from the salary committee was that they liked longevity bonuses. The Ochin bonus we've been able to award the last two Decembers have been very popular, and they've been awarded to anybody that has worked for the district 1 year or more. And so the committee liked that. So I do recognize that what I'm proposing is not exactly what the salary committee proposed. Number 8, as I mentioned, this has become a common type of salary schedule in the state of Arizona. Currently, Mesa, Kyrene, Peoria, Dysart, Madison, Casa Grande, and Queen Creek all have stepless salary schedules in place. Number 9, I believe that the main reason we need the stepless salary schedule is so we can fund our salary schedule in a way that matches our revenue each year. I believe that every time we do not fund our certified salary schedule, it is a morale blow to our staff. And I believe that we are not being totally honest and transparent when we have a salary schedule in place that we probably will not be able to fund. And that has been the case really 4 or 5 out of the last 6 years. And unfortunately, that's the situation that we face. Number 10, I would say that the goal will be to continue to provide ideally a 3% annual cost of living improvement. That is what each step on the certified salary schedule represents. Last year we were able to award about a 3.75% because it was 1.5 steps. And the previous year it was less, but it depends on the year. But that would continue to be the goal. Number 11, the state no longer funds us adequately so that we can fund a 3% increase each year. If you really get down to the reason for this change is that the state of Arizona for the past several years has not funded K-12 public education adequately. The state has cut funding 17.5% over the last 7 fiscal years. That is the average adjusted for inflation. That is a huge cut, and that is the reason we cannot sustain the salary schedule that is in place. And it's less than transparent if we say that we can, in my opinion, in my judgment. Also, we've been unable to pass an override. That would be another way to address this issue. We have lost 6 consecutive override elections. So there is no other revenue source on the horizon. We had a short-term answer last year in district-sponsored charter school funding, which is the reason we were able to fund our salary schedule. That funding ends on June 30th this year. It goes to 0. There will be no additional funding. And so we are really at a point where we have to make some decisions to be fiscally responsible, I believe, with the funds that we do have. And as much as I would prefer to just keep our current salary schedule because it's a traditional model, very common in the state of Arizona, but it is not a model that we can fund. And I believe that this model will work better, and each year it will allow us to award a cost of living adjustment that matches our revenue. Just to go on, and feel free to interrupt as I'm going here, because this is work study. Yes?
So can we go all the way back up to number 3? So it says each approved course, I'm just trying to clarify in my head, going to school. So as they're taking the course, they $65 per credit once they complete the course, correct? Yes. Okay. Then once they complete their master's or their doctorate, then they get that payout? Yes. Okay.
That's the way the current salary schedule reads, $1,000 for a completed master's or doctorate.
Just the one-time thing. So we're helping them pay for their credits, and then we're going to give them this bonus of $1,000 when they finish when they actually get their degree, which we do that now.
Yes, but there's a little more to that. Mr. Beckett, do you want to explain how that would work?
But that's just that one time. They don't get that extra $1,000 again every year. Right.
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you, Member Ernst.
Because it doesn't. It's just I'm just trying to clarify it.
the current salary schedule actually has an incremental breakdown, so from a bachelor's to a bachelor's 15 until you finally get to your master's degree. Once you get your master's degree, that is another 3% increment on top of that, bachelor's plus 30, that's on the schedule. So does that answer the question?
Yeah, I'm just looking at the way it's written here. This
Right.
way, we're going to give them money for their credits.
That is correct.
Okay.
Yeah,
Because that's
and-
not how the salary schedule is
Right.
now. So this is the proposed.
Right. There is a slight difference, too, with the doctoral degree as well. The doctoral degree, actually, you do get a $1,000 stipend bonus on top of whatever the salary schedule was. But for the master's, we don't have that on the current schedule. But the new one would give that $1,000 bump as soon as they earn that degree, and then also when they would get another further doctorate.
Okay. Thank you.
The other document that was in board docs had the example in the middle, which might be a good time to look at that because it kind of goes to your question. And it gave an example of a teacher who has 10 years of experience with 30 credit hours past a BA degree, and the teacher has also earned a master's degree. So as you can see from that document, the base salary would be $34,507, which is our current base salary. Teachers are awarded $500 for each year of experience, so that would be $5,000 for 10 years of experience. Coursework would be $65 a credit, so there's 30 credits, that's $1,950, and then a master's degree of $1,000. So that new teacher's base salary would be $42,457. Very similar to the way we place newly hired teachers now. One difference is that we currently max out experience at how many years? At 10. We currently max out at 10, but we discount the 4 years where we were unable to pay. So in other words, if you're a teacher with 10 years experience up till now, you come into our district, you only get awarded 6. This will be a better deal for new hires. We think it'll help us recruit people better, people with experience.
What about the teachers who are with us who started out 10 years ago and didn't receive those 4 steps? So that would be somebody coming from another district who hasn't been with us, coming in and receiving more money than somebody who's stayed with us through the thick and thin.
Well, this is a proposal.
Okay.
We can tinker with this if that's something that you don't want to do. Our hope is that as we build in longevity bonuses, that we can make some of that up.
Yeah, I think we need to be very, very careful about that because we certainly don't want to offend or seem like we are doing more for a new teacher than we are for people who've stayed with us.
I agree. Yeah.
I want to see longevity rewarded.
But right now, what have we made up? Have we made up a full step?
Since
The-
the
the-
4 steps,
2 years, we've just been even.
no, we've gone up, like we did 1.5.
Last year we did 1.25, wasn't that correct? And the year before it was 0.75. So
We've increased,
So over the last 2 years, we're even. We've just basically funded 1 year of experience for the last 2 years, but the 4 previous years to that, it was 0.
right.
Yep.
But we've made up a step, because if we've gone 3 steps in the last 2 years, we've made up one of those steps.
Well, it's several ways to look at that. We've gone 2 steps in 6 years.
Okay. And right now, to be honest, our teachers, they're seeing other teachers come in and they're getting signing bonuses, and so the morale is already down from new teachers coming in. So I would be hesitant. I would rather see a plan in place for longevity bonuses before doing something like this that we plan for our existing teachers.
That's fine. That's really our discussion, and we talked about, what the budget committee's recommending. They're recommending X dollars for a COLA that can be repurposed, and it could be strictly longevity bonuses. There's several ways that could be done. Assuming there's funding available. I mean, that's what we're still in the middle of trying to figure out.
It's going to bring in money.
Maybe.
It's a good start. I think that it's a good start to work with it.
That's all I have, unless there's further questions.
Update
Oh, this is going to be lovely, too.
Yes, thanks again to Jim Irving and Rick Nielsen for leading our budget committee. They do a good job. Just to start off with the big picture, you've seen this slide before. Mr. Roush has been looking into his crystal ball and trying to figure out how much money we can expect, what's our revenue total in our M&O budget. You saw this slide, I believe, back in December, and at that time, he was predicting with inflation being funded, because inflation has been funded by the state for the last, this will be the third year in a row, it just hasn't been funded at an accelerated rate like the courts have ordered the legislature to do. But nonetheless, the revenue has been there for inflation funding. So in December, Mr. Roush's prediction was that our revenue total would be $31,850,000 in M&O, which is $400,000 above this year's amount. Well, we have a new governor, and he had a new budget proposal, and we're trying to figure out how that will impact us. And this is Mr. Roush's estimate that if Governor Ducey's budget proposal should go through, and he should have a lot of influence over that because of Republican majorities in both houses, it would be less, in maybe somewhere in the neighborhood of $31,625,000, which is $225,000 more than we received this year. But it is still an estimate, and it could be more than that, it could be less. And, we won't know until the end of that budget process, which is May. So that's part of our difficulty here, trying to just estimate where we think the budget's going to end up. But that's Mr. Roush's best guess as of today. Moving on. Budget Committee focused on this list at our last meeting, and we focused on the critical items. And you can see that we ranked them in priority order 1 through 5. This is not a final list, but this is where we were at the end of the last meeting, and we'll be revisiting this, I know, in our next meeting. So you can see that the number 1 item is a cost of living raise across the board. Ideally, it would be a 1%. $261,000 would be the cost of that. Number 2, reduced class size. That was mentioned in the Meet and Confer report as well. Ideally, that would be 15 additional teachers. That would cost us $810,000. Number 3, a marketable gifted program to expand in grades 3 through 6, work on the clarifying criteria, things like that. We penciled in 1 FTE, or full-time equivalent teaching position with salary and benefits, also with some training costs in there at $75,000. Number 4 priority was elementary school counselors or social workers for non-special education students. We figured we could afford 2 days per week at each elementary school. Well, let me rephrase that. 2 days per week, roughly 2 FTE. There's several ways you could structure that, but it would be approximately $60,000 if it was a 2-day-a-week schedule. So a lot of discussion there, and it's a little bit it needs to be firmed up a little bit. And then number 5, increased health office, nursing, and support staff. I wanted to let you know that at that meeting, at budget meetings, I try to say as little as possible and just provide information. But I had to share with the budget committee that I would not recommend item number 5 to the governing board. And just to give you a preview of what I'll be doing, as you know, they're making a recommendation to me. I'm going to rework this a little bit, work with the cabinet, and bring you back a formal recommendation from me. But I told them I would not include number 5. We have reduced 2 nursing positions, 2 registered nurse positions this year, and replaced them with health assistants. And we are functioning, in my judgment, properly. I believe that we have an excellent nursing program, have had for many years, but we cannot afford to sustain it at that level. We cannot afford a registered nurse at all 9 schools. We still have a lot of nursing needs, but we need to streamline our nursing program, and it has been my decision thus far to not replace those RNs this year when they left, and instead to replace them with nursing assistants. And so anyway, that was what I told the budget committee. I left it on there for now just to make sure I told you about that. Those are the critical items. Now, you notice that it's a big price tag, and I didn't even put the total on there. The budget committee is well aware that we don't have a a lot of money. They've seen the green slides that we just looked at, and they know that it may be as low as $225,000, and it could even be less than that. They're very well aware of that, and so at our next meeting, we will come back and maybe with some more realistic price tags and recommendations from the Budget Committee. Is where I think that we will end up. Any questions, comments on that slide?
I do have a question, but I may need to wait to a different board meeting, so direct me if I need to. I have a question on a nursing question. Can I ask that now, or do you want me to wait to another board meeting? Okay. If, for instance, we put our critical nurses at specific schools, our RNs, for those schools where some of our SPED students and some of our high-need students that had allergies if those parents wanted to choose to have them at those schools. If they said, you know what, my kid has specific nut allergies or grass allergies or whatever, we do have some of those populations that have a high needs. Could we provide busing for those students for the parents that choose to send them to the schools that have the RNs?
That's something that we can look into. I really can't answer it at this
Okay.
time, but that's something we can certainly
Okay.
look into. But just to clarify, we currently have RNs on duty or LPNs at every school. There are just 4 schools where the RN is only there half of the day, and that RN then shares between 2 different schools. And then when the RN is not there, we do have a health assistant, and so nursing services are still being performed.
Right, but I'm just, if there was a parent that, or, whatever how it turns out to be, we had LPs at some of the schools, a parent didn't want that, they wanted to send them to a school that had an RN, could we provide busing? I'm just trying to.
We can look into it.
Okay.
I have to tell you, though, shuttle buses are extremely expensive, and that's something we're going to have to look into. And if
No,
it's,
but they could take them to the bus stop that serves that school.
oh, absolutely. We currently have open enrollment in our district, and so we have kids all over the community going to different schools for different reasons. And right, they take advantage of current bus routes. Absolutely.
Health assistants to administer EpiPens. They actually allow any staff that's trained to administer EpiPens. So a child with a known allergy should be fine. I mean, as long as the parents have made sure the medicine is on hand. I mean, having a health assistant or not wouldn't change that dynamic for the child with the known allergy.
From some
Yeah.
parents. I'm just trying to alleviate
Right.
questions that I've had come to me. Okay. Yes. Making those decisions, the hard budget decisions. Okay.
Or may not know this answer. My question is, when we have the RNs that are working at the schools on half a day, is there any potential liability issues regarding any type of health risk or any type of health conditions that could happen when you have, I guess, an MA level health staff versus an RN? I mean, is there any potential liabilities because of that?
We're currently staffing our schools with nurses and health assistants is very common in the state of Arizona, and we actually have far more nurses on duty per student than many districts. So no, there's not a liability other than the normal liability that we assume when students show up on our campuses.
Thank you.
Any other questions on the critical list? Just to remind you, not to spend any time on it really, but we also have a second list we called essential items. Number 1 was additional security staff at the high school. Number 2, additional custodial staff. Number 3, additional maintenance staff. Number 4, additional technology support for staff and software. Number 5, updated curriculum and related resources. Number 6, additional foreign language other than Spanish at the high school and middle school, and then an alternative school, number 7, for grades 7 through 12. Some price tags on there. We, as a committee, have not spent a lot of time on this list with the knowledge that, everything on the front page is fairly expensive and probably can't afford everything on the critical list. And then the third list is desirable, and that would include the items that you see listed there. So those things are still on the table, and we can still move things around and have done a little bit of that, but I think the Budget Committee is just trying to, bring the recommendation to closure, so we should have more information soon. And that's all I have on Budget Committee.
All right, moving on to the consent agenda, and please keep in mind that items E was pulled from it. Do I have any motions? I have a motion, a second? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. All right. Item 6E, approve School Live LLC advertising and promotional services agreement. Mrs. Anderson, you pulled this off?
Dr. Chestnut, I had questions after reading the contract. What is this? Why is it? What's the sales pitch? Why do we need it? Who's going to control it? Who's going to check on it? And what does it look like? I was just really surprised to see it in consent without seeing what it looks like first. So.
All the answers here tonight. Krista Barrett, Assistant Principal from Maricopa High School.
If you look up on your screens, you will see what the kiosk actually looks like. They are much taller than I am. Pull it out. Okay. They're much taller than I am. They are interactive screens. The purpose, the goal is to improve communication with our students, with our staff, with our parents who walk in the front door who don't know when ASVAB testing is, or even Ames testing, even with all the communication that we try to put out there. One would be, there would be about 8 to 9 of them, one being the front office and then one designated area in each building. With the purpose of improving communication, this also adds revenue to the high school. So if you see the top section, the bottom section, those ads are put there via School Live. And then that center section would be what the school actually can manipulate through PowerPoint slides. So in each tab, we would have our own section that we would control. We would have all, the say-so for the advertising. Udall-Shumway has gone through the contract and has taken out anything they felt to be questionable, and what is left in they deem to be appropriate. And we are not the only school in Arizona. I believe there are 4 to 5 other schools who have implemented these kiosks already. Just on the top of my head, I believe Vail is one of them. A lot of them started in California. So this idea was prompted through Bernadette Rossinello and our new CTE counselor, Al Shirley, who went to a CTE conference and found these to be a remarkable communication tool. So they brought the idea to us, and we've been working with Udall-Shumway, School Live, Aaron Roush, to try to hammer out all the details of what this would look like. They require Wi-Fi, but they can be done offline after school hours, so we're not competing with any Wi-Fi when we update. The kids in student council and marketing would control those PowerPoints. We currently have a young lady who does some phenomenal work with PowerPoints, and she'll probably be on point with that. The revenue that would be generated by the ads would be $300 to $500 per month per kiosk, based off of those ads. We don't pay anything, we get paid. And we can say no to specified advertising if we find it inappropriate for our demographic. So they would send them to us 4 weeks in advance, and we would review, approve, decline, get a second set, approve, and they would load. Did I answer all the questions? No. Okay.
So which staff member is going to be responsible for reviewing all the ad content? I mean, we already put a lot already on our staff.
Mm-hmm. Bernadette Rossinello would be the first preview of the ad content, and I would be the final.
Okay. I pulled up their website to check them out as well, because I was extremely curious, as I had never heard of them either. And it said that it would sell items. Are we selling items on this? And
Negative.
How is that generated?
Udall-Shumway took that piece out. We are not selling.
We are not selling.
Correct.
It's in the contract.
I don't believe that. Oh, I thought they took it out.
No, it's still in the
Okay.
contract.
We are not selling, correct?
Well, it says that they're not responsible if the students buy stuff.
Right, but they're not, I don't think they're connecting that piece. Because
Well,
that has to
Once we
be,
sign this I want that taken out then. I want that
Okay.
section taken out.
Problems with it, line out the things you don't like,
Yeah.
and typically, that's not a problem.
And my only other concern here, we're talking about putting one of these in each of the buildings. Our students sometimes have a hard time getting to class as it is, and if they're gonna stop and play with this little kiosk thing, how is that gonna affect our student achievement?
well, I believe with the novelty, there may be an increase in students playing with the kiosk. That notification will be sent to staff. We'll roll this out to them, have them explain what the expectations are. It doesn't change the expectations to get to class. The natural consequences, they lose that celebration time if they are late to class. That's been helping us quite a bit, the celebration time, having that 10 minutes for them to, be out of class when they are not tardy in a given week.
And how soon are you looking at the installation and implementation of these?
That, I think, all depends on the contract and approvals, and I don't know
Are we looking
at the
this school
time.
year or next school year?
I was hoping this school year.
This school year. Because I noticed that the contract did say that because it's a 36-month contract, which is another thing that gives me the heebie-jeebies, that if we were to cancel it, we have to do it between the 12th and 14th month, and after that, if we don't cancel it, we're stuck for the 36.
Correct. So between the 12th and 14th month, we can cancel for convenience sake if we don't think that they're suiting us or there's a problem. We have that option.
And I know that this question was answered earlier by Mr. Roush, but they're liable for any damages and repairs needed. Does that include vandalism?
100%.
Me personally, I'm not going to speak for the board. I would like some more time to look at it. I would prefer to think about it rather than have it placed on me right now and to have to vote on it right now. Rest of the board, you can do what you want to do. I will vote according to whatever the motion is. I would prefer to table it and to think about it and to kind of mull over what this is going to do to the school environment. That's my 2 cents. So.
Mrs. Barrett, were you guys approached by a sales rep that came out and gave a sales presentation, or did they send it to you via a brochure, or how did you guys get this information that you guys made your decision?
It was Bernadette Rossinello and Al Shirley going to a CTE conference, and these folks were there presenting to the entire conference.
And they just brought you guys back a brochure, or you're just taking?
Yes.
Okay. Is it possible that the board members could get a copy of that brochure to take a look at it?
Sure.
Okay.
Would the board like for me to see if they can come and present to give you all the details? Sure.
Yeah.
I'll work on that.
I mean, it sounds great, but here's how I feel about it. I feel like, and I'm just going to be honest, I feel like my kid bringing home the Christmas wrapping paper sales gig, and they're selling it for $10, and you open it up, and it's 12 inches square, the school gets $1, and the company's making $9. It sounds too good to be true, and if something sounds too good to be true, I just want to make sure we're really doing what's best for our students, and is this really going to make us be an A district? Is it, the high school is struggling as it is, and I don't know, if we're looking for communication, I would rather see us put a kiosk in the lunch line that we've paid for that is our complete control. We're not selling anything, we're not advertising, kids are waiting in line. Let's just pay the $1,000 and put a kiosk in that gives them the information versus a sales gig. That's just my own opinion.
Okay.
I don't need any more wrapping paper.
Does the brochure have the other school districts in Arizona that have done this?
Not the one I believe that they had, but I can get you a list.
That would be great.
I've just Google searched it myself.
Contact them.
Sure.
And find out how it's working. And sometimes we don't have to reinvent the wheel.
Absolutely.
Okay. From what I see, I think that this, could potentially improve student and parent access, and just by, from the communication. A question that I'm wondering, that when we are generating the money from this kiosk, how is that money going to be used? Is it going to be used, for each particular school, or how is that going to be spent? How's that going to be decided?
It would probably go back, I believe in the contract, it talks about school activities, so the school would make a decision on how those funds are split. They would be sent to the district,
Right,
to
so
be
then there would
deposited.
need to be a policy that would kind of, that would address that then, of how that would be, or maybe I'm not understanding it's this part.
My understanding is that it becomes student council funds. Isn't that correct, Mr. Roush?
Well, there's a couple different ways. This could go right into the district's M&O, or it could go into another fund and we can redistribute it. I don't think, it's however we feel is the best use of it. So it's not restrictive, it's whatever we feel is the best use of it. But again, $300 to $500 for 9 kiosks, that's $4,000 a month potentially. So that's a little bit of money. And so that's positive. And we talk about in our budget meetings, is there any revenue producers? Is there? Oh, this is one. So it's potential. And then we could, I'm sure we can find ways to spend this.
We might want to clarify that because as a previous high school teacher, I would fight the fact that it would go into district funds, and I would fight to keep it at the high school. So I would think we want to clarify that. Okay.
I think that was the point in the contract. It does talk about student council getting, getting those funds.
Yes,
so.
it does. So, thank you.
You're quite welcome. No other questions?
Oh. I would like to make a motion to table this so that we can get some more information.
All right, I have a motion. Any seconds? I have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, Mrs. Barrett. Okay. 7A, discussion and possible approval of the personnel schedule. Mr. Beckett.
Thank you. President Couture, members of the board, Dr. Chestnut. You have the personnel schedule in front of you tonight. I do want to highlight one particular item. Number one, back in 1987, Mrs. Linda Sturr began her service here in the district. And this year she's decided she's going to call it quits. And so we have her on the list there for accepting of a retirement request. And just wanted to highlight that for you all.
Any questions, motions, discussions, any?
I have no discussions, but I'd like to make a motion to approve.
I have a motion, and everybody second? I'll second. I have a motion and second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, Mr. Beckett. And our last item on the agenda, adjournment. Any motions? Motion. Any seconds? I'll second. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Meeting adjourned, 7:30. Wow, record time.